Hello everyone! Today I am here to share with you my July book haul. It's early in July to be doing a book haul, isn't it? Yes, it is. But I wanted to share the books that I have thrifted. I went to Value Village. All of these are thrifted books. I am going to have a more creepy book haul a little later in the month for you guys because, you know, I'm buying all the creepy books too. But today I have 9 books for you, all thrifted. We're going to start with some contemporary books. The first is Under the Udala Trees. This takes place in Nigeria and we follow a young girl named Ijemwa. And she is sent away to safety. There is civil war that has broken out in Nigeria at this time. And she's sent away to safety and she meets another young girl who I believe was also sent away to safety. And they fall in love. Unfortunately, the world that they live in is not accepting of this love between two girls. And so this is something that she has to hide and it follows her story. Now, I just recently found out that Noelle read this in June. Like, I had never heard of this book. I don't know why, but I had never heard of it. And I just started to read it at Value Village and I was like, that sounds really, really good. And then Noelle read it and loved it. So that worked out really, really well for me. So that's Under the Udala Trees. I'm going to read the first line for you guys. Midway between Old Obanui Road and New Obanui Road, in that general area bound between Village Church and the primary school, and where Mary John Road drops off only to begin again, stood our house in Ojota. I don't think that's a 5-star first line, and I'm sure that I completely mispronounced so many of those places. I apologize for that. It was an okay first line, but I am looking forward to reading this, especially after hearing so much praise from Noelle. Next is Adele by Leila Slimani. Now, I read The Perfect Nanny by her and really enjoyed it. That one is also called Lullaby in the UK. And Adele is not a thriller. I also wouldn't classify The Perfect Nanny as a thriller. This one is equally dark though. This is about Adele, who seems to have a very wonderful life. She is a journalist living in Paris. She has this gorgeous apartment with a wonderful husband and a young son. She also is a sex addict. And so during the day, she actually, you know, schedules her day around extramarital affairs, and these sexual relationships that she has with all sorts of men, it's not like a pleasurable thing for her, but a compulsive thing, hence the addiction. And I think it sounds really interesting. I have heard mixed things about this, but I think her writing is fantastic, and so I'd definitely like to read this. Let's read the first line. Adele has been good. I kind of like that first line considering the synopsis, but in and of itself, I wouldn't say it's like a 5-star first line, but I am interested in it. Next is a retelling. This is New Boy by Tracy Chevalier. This is a retelling of Othello. There's a series of authors who are retelling Shakespeare's plays, and Tracy Chevalier was tasked with retelling Othello. And so New Boy follows a young boy named Oseo, it's O for short. He has moved around to different schools. I think he's had like 4 schools in 6 years. He's a diplomat's son. And he's really nervous to start a new school because it's hard to start a new school when you're a kid. But he does end up hitting it off really well with the most popular girl in school. And her name is Dee. Unfortunately for both Dee and O, another boy at the school named Ian is very upset by this like blossoming friendship. He doesn't want it to happen. And so he decides to destroy it. And it says the teachers and pupils alike will never be the same again. It sounds wonderful. I'd started to read a few pages of it when I was at Value Village and I was like, yes, this is going to be good. Okay, so let's read the first line. Before school is part 1. Dee noticed him before anyone else. Not a 5-star first line, but it sounds really good. Next up is Deacon King Kong by James McBride. This was a huge book last year. It's also Oprah's book club book, and this takes place in 1969. We meet an old church deacon who pulls a gun from his pocket and in front of everyone shoots the project's drug dealer at point blank range. There are multiple witnesses to this, and it is about how people react to this shooting and also how the police react to the shooting. It's meant to be amazing. It's also meant to be apparently quite funny, sharp, and surprising. So I could not believe that I found this at a Value Village, first of all, because it has been all the rage. So let's read the first line and see what we think. And so chapter 1 is Jesus's Cheese. I love that for a chapter title. Deacon Cuffy Lambkin of Five Ends Baptist Church became a walking dead man on a cloudy September afternoon in 1969. That is a 5-star first line. Wow. That's really good. Amazing. So those are all the contemporary books that I have. Next, let's move on to some historical fiction books. So for historical fiction, I have 2. The first is The Last Garden in England by Julia Kelly. This follows 5 women. In present day, we meet a woman who is going to Highbury House to restore a garden. And while she's there, she finds out about the garden's history. Then we go way back in time to 1907 to the garden designer, Venetia Smith, who designs this garden at Highbury House. She's hired to do this big, huge job. And then we go forward slightly in time to 1944, and we follow 3 women in this time living in Highbury House. I think we follow the woman who owns the house. We follow a land girl who just wants to get away. And then we follow a cook as well, I think. I could be wrong about that. It sounds interesting. I like when there's past and present in a book. And it has been compared to Kate Morton. Say no more, you know? Say no more. So let's read the first line of The Last Garden in England. It's also very beautiful. Prologue, January 1908. Her steps in sturdy walking boots are steady on the stone path despite the ice that crunches underfoot. I like that, not a 5-star first line. And then the second is almost a mix of historical fiction and like kind of sci-fi-ish. This is The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. So this book follows Stella, who seems to have 9 lives, or maybe 7 or 8 lives. And Stella repeatedly dies and then comes back to life, basically. And her mother thinks she's cursed. They live in Italy. You know, their father is not the best father, I don't think. He's quite tough on her. However, she decides that her life is really not worth living if she can't be independent. And she sets out to do that in her life, as well as protect her baby sister, Tina. The whole family on the brink of World War II moved from Italy to America. And over the course of their lives, Tina and Stella have like a falling out. And so we meet a family member in present day Connecticut who tells this story of Stella and her sister. And it's in attempt to understand the persisting rift between the now elderly Stella and Tina. Like, what could happen to create a rift between these sisters that were so close? I am curious. So let's read the first line. Preface. This is the story of Maria Stella Fortuna II, called Stella, formerly of Evioli, a mountain village in Calabria, Italy, and lately of Connecticut in the United States of America. I would not say that's a 5-star first line, but I am really interested to read this one. And now we have 3 books that I don't really know where to put them. Are they sci-fi? Are they fantasy? There's a lot of like magical realism elements. Honestly, I could have probably put this one on that list as well. First is a series of stories. What is Not Yours is Not Yours by Helen Oyemi. And this is a series of short stories. And I don't read enough short stories, but she's meant to be a gorgeous writer. And so I would really, really love to read it. And these are a collection of linked, intertwined stories cleverly built around the idea of keys, literal and metaphorical. And that just sounds interesting to me. So do you want to read the first line of maybe the first story? The first story is called Books and Roses. Once upon a time in Catalonia, a baby was found in a chapel. Oh, I really love that first line. I really, really love that first line. Why is the baby there? Like, it draws you in immediately. I'm giving that a 5-star first line. Next is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. She wrote Night Film, which I really, really enjoyed. Neverworld Wake follows a group of teenagers who go to Darrow Harker School. We've got Beatrice and her 5 best friends. They're kind of cool kids. Sadly, Jim, Beatrice's boyfriend and part of this group, dies quite suddenly. And it changes everything. And she leaves the school and is really struggling with the loss of this boy that she loved. And she feels like she's just never going to know the answer of why he died, how he died. I think there's a lot of questions surrounding his death. She ends up returning one day, a year after their graduation, to Wincroft, which is a seaside estate that the whole group of them spent quite a bit of time at, really trying to explore the past, trying to find answers. And she kind of comes to the conclusion she's just never going to know. And then there's a knock at the door, and a mysterious man says that he is going to help her find the answers. And this is like her last chance to find out what happened to Jim. So let's read the first line of Neverworld Wake. I hadn't spoken to Whitley, Langsing, or any of them in over a year. I like that a lot, like 4-star first line for me, because it does draw me in, just not the same as it's not bam enough to give it a 5-star. Does that make any sense? Okay, we've got the last book that I picked up out of Value Village. This is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This was all over the place on Booktube. And I saw it there and I was like, I don't know if it's going to be for me, but I might as well try it. So this book follows a woman named Nora who has deep, deep regret throughout her life. She's made so many poor decisions, and she begins to work at a library. And the books in this library enable her to live her life as if she had done things differently. And she asks an old friend to help her do this work to change the past, basically. However, as she changes the past and relives her life, that work puts the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she has to answer the ultimate question. What is the best way to live? That sounds neat. I don't know. Okay, let's read the first line. A conversation about rain. 19 years before she decided to die, Nora Seed sat in the warmth of the small library at Hazeldean School in the town of Belfort. Oh, I love that. I think that's a 5-star first line because of the chooses to die. Yes. Oh, that's exciting. Lots of 5-star first lines in that little pile. A lot of them weren't necessarily on my radar. A couple of them were, but I just was drawn to them. Let me know in the comments below, have you guys done any thrifting lately? I'd love to know if you picked up anything good. Also, let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll chat with you very soon. Bye!